Hey students, we're going to work on question number 6 and see how far we get to maybe 7, maybe 8. We'll see. Okay, so these are the different ways that endocrine glands are stimulated. So the most common way is through what's called hormonal stimulus of an endocrine gland. So we look here and at an example to the right in the graphic, and this is where hormones are activated by hormones that have been released and have traveled to them. So we start here with looking at the hypothalamus up here at the top. So it basically is blown up right here, and it releases this says GnRH here, gonadotropin releasing hormone. So this is just an example. So that gonadotropin releasing hormone travels to the anterior pituitary, and the anterior pituitary is stimulated to release its two hormones. In this case, luteinizing hormone LH or follicle stimulating hormone FSH. So these two are released. And then these travel to their target organ. So these target cells in the testes. So luteinizing hormone travels and performs its task. Follicle stimulating hormone travels to the testes, performs its task. So we have seen basically a hormone being released, activating the release of yet another hormone. So that's called hormonal stimulus of an endocrine gland. Okay. The next category, question number 7. Okay, give an example of humoral stimulus of an endocrine gland. So humoral has to do with the fluids of the body. Okay, it's like blood, bile, that kind of thing. And so one of these things that happens is that blood levels change. We've talked a lot about that in terms of like blood sugar. Okay, calcium in the blood. So levels of certain things like ions in the blood stimulate endocrine glands to do their job. All right. And so here, the example that we're looking at right here in these two vessels that we see are glucose in the blood. So we have a normal amount of glucose. When we have an excess of glucose in the blood, you can see right over here that insulin is produced in response to these rising levels of blood glucose. Okay. This example here of parathyroid hormone and calcitonin, I'm going to flip to this next screen to show you that one. It's really cool. So let's say, for example, I have a falling level of calcium in my blood. So on the back of the thyroid gland, we have these 4 glands called the parathyroids. Those sense this disturbance in homeostasis, and there's probably a brain center as well that triggers these guys into action. So when that lower level of calcium is sensed in the blood, parathyroid hormone is released. Okay, so again, this level of the blood is what triggers the release of this hormone. And so then that parathyroid hormone goes to the bones, goes to the kidneys, goes to the intestines, and basically tells the body we need more calcium in the blood. Okay. As those target organs do their thing, then this blood calcium level rises and we're back at homeostasis. Okay. You can follow it upwards and see a different hormone acting basically in this humoral stimulus example. Okay, we'll try one more. Maybe we'll get through it. The third way an endocrine gland is activated is through nerve impulses. So we see here the spinal cord sending an impulse to the adrenal cortex here. And so we have basically this release of norepinephrine and epinephrine by the adrenal medulla that we see right here. That hormone gets released into the blood based on a neural signal. Okay, it's an impulse from the nervous system stimulating this adrenal medulla to release its hormone. So those are the 3 different ways that endocrine glands can be stimulated. All right, hope that helps.